As news of Blackbeard's death rang throughout the islands, the IIC was now in a state of worry as to who could fill the shoes of their prevalent founder. Its citizens, unsure of these murky waters, put their voices out there on who should be the new captain. It was at this point, one man, cool and calculated, thrust himself into the limelight and rose in popularity faster than a roaring tide. That man was Jack Burchill, nicknamed Gentleman for his extravagant dress sense and playful wording. It was no wonder why he was the winner to voters. Although his style was flamboyant, his merciless strikes to the enemies of the islands rang loud and petrified anyone who sailed towards them. Burchill catapulted his pirate nation into the world with greater strides and would reap the biggest of rewards. Nobody knew exactly where Burchill had come from, but it was to be believed that he was a man of no origin, nor distinguishable accent to pinpoint on a map. But his punctuation was very articulate, with an indistinguishable swagger. He wore the blessings and talismans of his peers around his neck, showing his courteous nature to others. To them, it was unexpected that Burchill would even think of taking a position such as this, but it was all just more to his braggadocious character than expected. While Blackbeard created the IIC, it was Burchill who sculpted it, molding it into a prosperous nation that saw heavy expansion in trading goods. Burchill saw that Cuba was to be the biggest exporting goods besides New Providence, and Jamaica would soon follow. The food, labor, and resources showed the world that even though the IIC was a force to be reckoned with, it certainly gave a good bargain. Stay away from the shores, or suffer the consequences. One ship, however, wasn't as kind to these rules. British rule on the seafront tightened after Robert Maynard's death from the hands of Blackbeard was on the decline, but it didn't stop the ambitions of the Empire from trying. Unintuned to just how powerful the force of the IIC had become, Burchill's order to attack was swift, and the devastation of one vessel was catastrophic. Burchill only cemented his brutal style of play with a playful letter written to the Royal Navy. Given in a wooden box was trinkets made by his crew members, and a written verbal warning which Burchill sealed with a play on the East India Company. On top of his style of play, Burchill signed new legislation which included the mayoral positions of each island, keeping the balance of updates with routine checks and massive waves of slave importing. Too much of it, in fact. While the IIC saw unparalleled growth and joy in its people, the slave force, consisting of those imported from Africa and Madagascar, along with those who were rule breakers on the island, grew tiresome to the consumption-happy citizens. A mistake overlooked. The slaves felt more pressured than ever with the newest developments, and Burchill would be on the receiving end of it. During the afternoon of a warm summer's day, the sea was calm and the breeze was gentle, and a massive crowd was gathered to see the captain for a speech. Surrounded by his guards and slaves as decoration behind the newly built dockyard, one lone slave called Butch Chandler ripped a pistol from a guard's hilt and shot Burchill square in the back. The crowd scattered, and a cutlass was soon swiftly glided across the rogue slave's throat. Surrounding the rest of the slaves, Burchill was soon taken to be revived at the castle, but it was too late. The eccentric captain was dead. News spread fast, and governing heads scrambled for another election. Burchill's reign was looked at in fondness and admiration. He was seen as a pioneer for all other leaders to come. His influence was rivaled by some to that of Blackbeard. Unfortunately, the IIC would be placed into the hands of a new ruler who would bring its people to its knees. The highs of the nation now would begin to sink almost to the bottom of the ocean.